Folks at home, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite things to do, deep water bass fishing. If you've ever been to a new lake and been faced with bluff walls and super deep fishing conditions, this video is for you. If you have no idea about how to do this, we're going to break down how I fish bluff walls, how I fish super deep for bass in the summertime. Let's dive on in. Here we go. So the first thing we want to think about when we're fishing super deep is relative. Number one, here at Cumberland we're fishing bluff walls, or you got like 90-foot depths 10 feet out from the bank. So how we fish this is we look for triangles, we look for ambush points, and we look for rock slides. Now, I'm going to talk about all of those different things. Here is a perfect example of a triangle. These things that are happening on this break wall or ambush points, that triangle is going to get bigger as you go down underwater. My favorite way to target bluff walls is with a swim bait. So here's a swim bait being basically free spooled down a bluff wall, and what happens is you throw this out, you let it fall parallel to that bluff wall, and it gets depth. And then what you start doing is you can look on your electronics. Is there a thermocline? Is there a depth where bait fish are? You can count this bait down and generate strikes. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to fish something like a Fish or Die Ajax Goby here on an ebb and flow upgrade head down a rock slide. A rock slide is going to take a bunch of rock from up high and it's going to slide all the way down the vertical face of that wall. Baits like this Ajax Goby are fantastic because it looks like a small fish that is around and feeding around insects and around things on the rock slide. A rock slide is like a breakup of the wall, so it gives cover to insects and crawfish and different things like that. And as you can see here, these rock slides are very tough to target with traditional baits, but I really like the ebb and flow jig head here. It has that keel on it, it comes through rock really well, and it transmits what you feel back to you. Braid is super important and fluorocarbon is super important when fishing rock slides because it allows you to effectively fish this lure on the bottom. Now, the Fisher Jack Ajax Goby here literally has a nice subtle kick and swim on the fall. So here it is falling down that bluff wall. It's not overpowering, and one thing to consider in clear water and deep water impoundments is that you don't necessarily want to overpower the fish. When it hits the bottom, it does a good job transmitting sound and vibration through that jig head, but it also is unassuming, right? The colors in Liberty Tree and Goby here are Great Lakes colors, but they're going to work exclusively well in clear water in places where other baits like this are not going to work. And when you're fishing bluff walls and rock slides like this, supernatural sometimes can be your friend. Those smallmouth and spots are sight feeders. They see this just tooling around on that drop and they're going to nail it. Also, in reservoirs that go up and down a lot, that structure is going to erode and break away, and one good way to fish rocks is that ebb and flow jig head. That 60-degree line tie really helps bring it through those rock ledges well without getting stuck. On the fall, this bait is exquisite. You can pop it and dance it around, but counting it down, letting it fall into those rock slides and those triangle gaps is a great way to catch fish if you are not skilled at fishing deep water or bluff walls or points and rocks. And one thing that I really enjoy about this bait is the subtlety of it. Those fins being out, the color patterns on this bait, the eyes, all things make it a great visual thing for prey. Now, the other thing you got to consider when fishing deep is, literally speaking, you have to be able to light line these lures or free spool these lures down, because if you cast it to a bluff wall and you close your bail or you hit that button, that lure is going to pendulum away out from you. So this is an art form in itself. What I'm doing here is I'm casting that bait out, I'm leaving the spool open, and basically when it hits bottom, I'll pull it out a little bit with my finger and then let it open spool and continue down the drop. You know you have a bite when you're fishing these kinds of situations when the line starts swimming out from the bluff wall, because most of times fish are going to come up on that bluff wall, they're going to pin what they're eating against that bluff wall, they're going to inhale it, and then they're going to swim off the bluff wall to consume it. So when your line moves out, you know you've got a bite. Same thing with a swim bait. A great way to learn this is with an underspin head. Here is a Jawtech Punch Shad on a Martin's Custom Baits underspin head, and literally throwing this out, letting it pendulum down, or simply light lining it or free spooling it down the gap. You can run a different baits, different colors until you find what works. One thing you want to notice on swim baits is different heads will have different impacts. So there's two Jawtech Punch Shads back to back. You can see the True South Lures Gamer blade has a little bit more waggle to it than the Martins. The Martins might get a bit better in cold water. The Gamer blade might get a bit better in warm water. Something that you want to be cognizant also is what are fish feeding on. Cumberland has gizzard shad, threadfin shad in it, and those threadfins are like candy for smallmouth, for striped bass. So that Elusive Baits 4-inch Ghost Gizzard here is beautiful on that True South Gamer blade, and it's got a nice wobble, it's got a nice kick, and it gives you the ability to match the hatch. One thing that you got to be concerned with in clear water is presenting something that is super realistic. Most of the time it's going to get you better bites, and I really like the translucence of these baits. You can see the shimmer and shine on them, but I also like the skinniness of the bait because it looks like a threadfin shad, it looks like a gizzard shad, and it looks really clean on that underspin, and that's something that you want to consider. How am I presenting a bait? Is it going to present a bait in a way that are going to make these fish track it, follow it, and then consume it? The other thing that you want to consider is sometimes smallmouth especially love loud baits, right? And this one in Poacher here from Elusive Baits is very clean. I love blue and gold in it. I love purple on baits because it's a loud bait and it's flashy. One thing they do at Cumberland is they pull the lake up and down, and trees are on these walls. If you can find treetops and coves, treetops out on the main body, there's going to be spots on them, there's going to be largies on them depending on the depth, there's going to be smallmouth on them. A swim bait will call those fish up. As you light line it down past that tree, those fish are going to peel off of it and absolutely inhale that bait as you're bringing it through the zone. So swim baits are a great way to target fish or to cover water in an area you're not familiar with. Plus, you can learn how to open line them, you can learn how to pendulum because they fall perfectly and they do what they're designed to do without much action from the angler. So great way to really look at those baits. All of the baits in today's video are brought to you by VantageTackle.com. All of the swim baits, the swim bait heads, all of the gear that I'm using are available on VantageTackle.com. Be sure to head on over there and check them out. If you guys enjoy what is going on the channel right now, give us a like, subscribe. Let us know what lures you want to see underwater, what things you want us to cover in our next videos. So just thanks for hanging out with us today, guys. Give us a like, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and we will see you out there next time.